MSCI and Genentech, without their support, programs like these wouldn't be possible. So thank you very much to all of them. So here's how this morning's going to go. We have a great lineup of leaders for you from companies across the region. I'm going to let them do the introduction, self-introductions, and you'll get a chance to hear about all the impressive work that they've been doing. We'll let each one of them go, and at the end of the program, we've reserved some time for Q&A. And I'm going to ask that you use the Q&A function to put your questions, to submit your questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. You can use the chat function as well. We'll be monitoring the chat, but the Q&A function is a lot, helps us facilitate getting your questions answered much easier. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to our first speaker. This morning we have Frank Ille from HealthSaaS. He's the CEO and founder. And Frank's got some slides to share with you here. So Frank, I'll let you take that away.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Oh, all righty, good morning. My name is Frank Ille. I'm CEO and founder of HealthSaaS. We're a Beaverton-based company. And we made a strong effort starting back in March. We actually hired 6 new people to take on a project, which you can see here at the URL of COVID-19checkup.net. We launched this site on March 27th, so this is a collaborative project with HealthSaaS, another local company, Helix, with technical and advisory support from HP. Our solution is more comprehensive in its determination of COVID-19 compared to the chatbot symptom checkers that are becoming pretty prevalent out there. By utilizing predictive AI, our COVID-19 solution evaluates a greater number of clinical signs and also detects, differentiates, and reports other life-threatening conditions that share similar symptoms with COVID-19, such as heart attack, sepsis, and low blood sugar. On day 1, we were processing about 300 assessments per minute. We have now processed over 1 million assessments since our launch on March 27th. Now we're going to expand our solution as we want to help the region, and as we look towards economic recovery, getting people back to work, getting our kids back to school. So we'll get rid of that. So what we're going to do right now is we're integrating these different technologies into a single web-based solution. So as part of our IoT strategy, we are integrating a thermal scanner from our partner Kentex. Kentex is a German company. We have product in-house now, and testing has begun. So what we're proposing, and what we've talked to several different entities about, including local municipalities, healthcare systems, and some very large employers that employ in excess of 100,000 people, is provide a portfolio of technologies. They can pick and choose what they want to use. So we currently have one client who is going to do step 1 and 2. So what will happen is your employees come into the building, they'll do basically a Japanese bow to the scanner. This is a little different than the other thermal technologies that you're hearing about, and there's some controversy about those. This is actually looking into the eyes and the nasal passages to detect fever versus just a skin scan. If it pops up red, they will move on to a kiosk powered by HP. They'll take a shorter version of our COVID-19 assessment test. If it comes up high risk, and should the client choose to, there will be a secure space in the building where they can be administered a nasal swab. At that point, they will be sent home and await results. A couple of our healthcare or enterprise healthcare clients are going to also utilize step 4. So for their healthcare workers, as they go through this nasal swab administered, they will be sent home. If they are determined to be positive for COVID-19, they will be issued a HealthSaaS device kit. So this device kit will include an Android-powered hub from HP, as well as a wearable body temperature patch and a pulse oximeter to measure SpO2 as well as heart rate. So we will be launching this solution with our first client in late June. So some of the benefits of, as we get to stage 4 in our core business of remote patient monitoring is, to decrease the risk of virus transmission. So we want to keep people at home. We want to monitor them in place. You're hearing the term more frequently care in place. Should something change in their health, the care team will be alerted if it needs to be escalated into a hospitalization. The AI can help facilitate that. I have 40 seconds left. And so, this is something we look forward to launching here. We'll be launching it first here in the city of Beaverton, and then we'll also be announcing with a large enterprise employer who is an IT company here locally. And that's it.
Great, thanks, Frank. We are, as I say, we're going to hold our questions till the end. So I'm going to queue up our next speaker here. And we have Dan Schwartz from Grace Biolabs. Dan is the Director of Business Development for Grace, and they are located in Central Oregon. Dan, feel free to take it away.
Thanks for including us here today. Can you see the screen?
You're good, yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having us included in the talk today. I'm Daniel Schwartz. I'm the Director of Business Development at Grace Biolabs. Really quickly, overview of who we are. We've been in business for about 30 years and we're privately owned. We have a catalog of over 700 products that we sell worldwide, direct and through distributors that are all developed, designed, manufactured, and sold domestically here in Bend, Oregon. We have about 35 FTEs right now and about 20,000 square feet of manufacturing, R&D space, and that includes admin and commercial activities. We're ISO certified. We have a lot of IP around around the products that we've developed. We do both catalog and OEM manufacturing, and these are all products based on microarrays and cell culture microscopy, which have generated over 1,300 peer-reviewed publications in peer-reviewed journals. In terms of what we do business-wise, we design, develop, and produce discovery research tools for genomics and proteomics. I think we're probably going to be a little bit more upstream from some of the people that are giving talks today that are more maybe more diagnostic or therapeutic oriented. We're selling strictly into research and discovery markets. So our customers are going to be academic institutions and universities, discovery biotech companies, and big biopharma companies that are mostly involved in drug discovery and companion diagnostics, biomarker profiling, some food and veterinarian safety products, and most relevantly for COVID is probably vaccine development and seroprevalence testing. Things that we do, areas that we operate in that are directly applicable for COVID activities. We have a range of products that are very versatile and can go into a lot of different workflows and applications for research. Of our traditional products that are used for COVID research are protein microarrays that are based on high protein binding nitrocellulose substrates. And those are going to be used for vaccine development and seroprevalent antibody assays. They can be used for multiplex cascade validations, all sort of things that have been looked at for COVID. Down here on the left is an example of what this looks like. We can immobilize picogram quantities of different proteins from the COVID virus and query this against plasma and determine what epitopes of the virus are most immunogenic. We produce a variety of microscopy tools, microfluidics, sample chambers, imaging chambers for microscopy, and these are used in next generation sequencing and immunochemistry, sample preparation, and high throughput processing of cell or tissue visualizations. We can do live cell imaging. In the middle here is an example of this type of product where a cell line can be immobilized in the bottom of these types of wells and you've given various drug treatments or gone through various therapeutics, and then inspected microscopy to observe where the proteins are moving, what's happening with organelles, various different conditions of cell treatments. We're seeing a lot of assay services increasing right now, and that would be sort of the juncture of our tools being complementary to the biological component, where we will team up with NIH or Sinobio to use their proteins or biological reagents in concert with our tools. The newest pivot we've made towards addressing COVID, the COVID pandemic, have been very basic in terms of these reagents and tools. We're now making face shields for our local hospitals. We're making hand sanitizer for our local communities. This has been a bit mixed early on. We started making hand sanitizer for the community very early. And subsequently, a lot of the producers from the Midwest have caught up with the demand, and essentially our cost is higher than what they can sell it for. So this has slowed down a bit simply because we've become less cost competitive, but we're still providing this for the local community. Impact of the pandemic, we as a company may have had some advantages. We're relatively small and our products can be used in a variety of workflow. Operationally, we already operate with clean room requirements. So our production and technicians are used to working, gowned up with dust-free hair gowns, dust-free hair caps, masks. So transitioning to safe operating environments in the pandemic was easy for us. Challenges that we've faced have been based on supply chain slowdowns. That has freed up a little bit recently, but is still relatively challenging. We've had some shifting demands in terms of what the customers need from our catalog. And again, with the PPE, we've had problems being able to be cost competitive with the bigger industrial suppliers from the Midwest. Business-wise, we've seen some interesting trends. We've been extremely fortunate in that we've maintained our operations here, and we've been very busy. We've seen a reduced demand from academics and universities, which is a large number of customers buying small quantities of things, which can be expected from the shutdowns. But from a big biopharma and governmental perspective, we've seen demand increase greatly here, and those have sort of offset. So we've maintained our operations and been pretty lucky in that respect. Broadly, from an economic standpoint, if you wanted to look at this from a high level, economically, we haven't had any layoffs. We've been continually operational. Our staff has adapted to this environment very well because we've already been, our operations are already trained for safe work environments. And we have a very flexible and agile product offering and revenue stream. So, from an economic standpoint, biotech is a great place to make investments to have a stable economic environment. And thanks. Any communications can contact me directly.
Sorry, thanks, Dan. Next thing, I'm going to introduce Patti White with Hemex Health. Patti's Hemex is located in Otrati, the Oregon Bioscience Incubator in the Portland area. And Patti, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Let me just get this into. There we go. Can you see my screen now? Lisa, is that working?
Not yet. I'm going to stop sharing. I can see you.
Okay, just one second. Let me try it again here.
There you go.
Just get that. Yeah. There we go. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's great to be able to be here and talk a little bit about what we're doing at Hemex Health. As Lisa mentioned, I'm Patti White, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hemex. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've spent 25 years in the med tech industry. And for Peter Galen, who is my co-founder, he and I started this company 4 years ago, and it's actually our 4th time working together. So Hemex is really focused on creating life-changing diagnostics, really focused on low resource settings. So, you know, we really look to identify technology that could be used to make diagnostics more affordable, easier to use, and more powerful. And we really started the company after having worked in the developing world and really seeing that while a lot of us here can work from labs that look like the picture on the left, the real world looks a lot more like the one on the right. And that really for over half the people in the world, you know, they barely have access to primary care physicians and have to deal with limited information and limited lab settings. So we after working with some universities, licensed a couple of technologies to really create this Gazelle platform. And the idea of Gazelle is it really uses custom cartridges for different diagnostic tests and a customized reader. And this reader has been designed to work in all kinds of environments. So we can run on battery power. We can take a single charge and run a whole day of tests. It's a very rugged, reliable platform, and yet it's very powerful. We have a couple of different fundamental technologies. We have electrophoresis and also a magneto-optical approach. And we really use a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the device to be able to evaluate the information and make it simple. But yet the device works a lot like your cell phone. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and can store thousands of tests. Or it can also be connected to the cloud where that information can be stored. So we've been working on this technology for the last 4 years. We've tested it on over 4,000 patients globally. And really the first release has a malaria, 1-minute malaria test that's more accurate than other tests that are out there. And we also test for sickle cell disease, so hemoglobin variants in about 8 minutes. We had released really the platform earlier this year, right when COVID started, and we were working on some follow-on tests. But we really saw, and we knew that in the environments that we target in low resources, we're going to be hard hit by COVID. We know that they have more vulnerable healthcare situation overall, and the big challenge is there aren't not that many affordable tests. So we started our work in February in conjunction with a biotech company up in Washington. And the diagnostic focus that we're doing is really going to run on the same platform. So really in the same cartridge that we use for our sickle cell test. And that's really an electrophoresis platform. And the focus of this product is to really look for early diagnosis. I think you hear about the 2 types of tests. There are tests that you might take as a diagnostic test and a test that would be a test to show if you have an antibody response. So this really fits in the diagnostic portion because we really felt that's where our users had the greatest needs. So it's an accurate, very easy to run test. It would run in under 6 minutes. It's an antigen based, and we're really focused on identifying the spike protein that you see in all these pictures of COVID. And then we would use to identify either a nasal swab, and we're also testing saliva or sputum based tests. It would end up in most parts of the world costing about $5 per test. And our instrument, by the way, costs about the same as a smartphone today. So we're really, again, focused on bringing this extra functionality in places of the world where they don't really have these types of options today. And of course, as it turns out, we have even a greater need for diagnostics, even here in the US and in other developed countries. And I think what it really also identifies is this need to have more than tests that just are in the lab, but also point of care, which is really what our our test can be used. It can be used in the lab or really at point of care in a doctor's office. So we are really just in the development phase on this project. I think we'll finish up our lab testing over the next few weeks and then go into some direct testing on patient samples with our partner PAI Life Sciences up in Seattle. So, but we're excited about the results we're bringing. Again, we're bringing a whole totally new approach by using this electrophoresis platform, and I think we can make a big contribution. And the last thing I just want to say thanks to all the support that we get here in Oregon. When I did my first startup in 1997, there really wasn't much of anything here for supporting startups. There's a lot more that's going on, and we have a number of great partners and investors here in Portland, but also globally that really help bring this product to market. It really does take a village to make this kind of difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Patti. Appreciate that. And appreciate everyone just allowing us to do this rapid fire approach here this morning. We've got so many great companies to hear from, and the 8 that we're profiling today is not even a fraction of what's going on in the region. So next up is John Chiang with Molecular Vision Laboratory. He's the director there. And John, I'm gonna let you take it away if you wanna share your screen.
Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we can see it. You're not in presenter mode, but we can see your slides.
Okay, so I make it bigger, right?
That from the beginning, I think that's your button right there.
Right. Okay, so I'm the lab director and a PhD and fellow of ACMG. I'm board certified in clinical molecular genetics. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to present our work on COVID-19 from Molecular Vision Lab. So we are a high complexity CAP and CLIA certified clinical diagnostic lab. The lab was built in 2011 at KCI Institute, OHSU. In 2016, we became private and independent. So 5 years at OHSU, 5 years as a private independent lab. So we have been in Oregon for over 10 years, for about 10 years. In the last 10 years, we accumulated expertise in cutting edge technologies, including next generation sequencing, qPCR. We mostly work on inherited rare diseases, mostly with eye involvement. But now we are moving beyond rare diseases. We are a very small lab with about 10 people. Our revenue is about $2 million a year. So when we decided to work on COVID-19, it was kind of late already. By then, there are many commercially available reagents. So we decided that we will just buy from domestic, reputable source for the reagents for RNA isolations and also RT-qPCR. So our reagents are from Thermo Fisher. And for RNA isolation, we use McClain viral pathogen nucleic acid isolation kit. And for RT-qPCR, we use their TechPath COVID-19 kit. Really, our entry point, the major difference is we decided to work on saliva. And I will talk about that, and because we have some other project beyond COVID-19. And so for the COVID-19 testing, Thermo Fisher kit target 3 different regions, RNA regions, so it's very specific. So the validation is done typically at a CLIA CAP lab. We bought inactivated COVID-19 virus. So we did the standard testing. We determined the limit of detection, LOD, is about 6 copies per microliter for up to 400 microliter of saliva. We also shown that this test is very specific because we bought 19 other upper respiratory viruses and there was no cross-reactivity. So the difference, what I want to emphasize, in our thinking is that first, I highlight in red, saliva samples. So consumers, and that's another key point I want to make, we are not directly competing against major hospitals for their patients. Our thinking is that we will do more or less like the direct-to-consumer testing approach. So consumers can order the test online from us, and saliva kit will be shipped to them, and they can collect saliva samples at home and mail the kit back to us. So this step will be very straightforward, very much like a 23andMe kind of approach. And we build a website, so consumers can go to our website. They can, oh, by the way, the test today is still needs to be ordered by physicians. In other words, we need to have prescriptions. So consumers can upload their doctor prescriptions, or they can go through online consultations through a web portal provided by us. So, like I said, we have been working on rare disease for almost for my entire career, and we have never thought about we will work on infectious disease one day. So our root is still in rare genetic diseases. That will be our continuous work. But we also saw the opportunities to offer more like consumer-based, more like direct testing in the future. And I think COVID-19 to us is really a great opportunity to expand toward that direction. Like I said, today it will not be direct-to-consumer testing, but we will be working on toward that direction. Nationally, point-of-care testing and home testing will become available in the next few months, but lab-based testing will still have a higher accuracy. So there's still a market for that kind of testings. And also because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think healthcare-related DTC testing will become probably more popular because of this episode. And I also believe that consumers should have their choice and their freedom and their knowledge and power to make informed decisions and based on commercially available test. So this is the website we just built. It will be live on Monday. So like I said, we are a high complexity CAP and CLIA certified diagnostic lab. And we really used to focus on genetic testing, but now we're expanding to COVID-19 testing. And COVID-19 will be the starting journey of us moving toward that direction. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, John. As I'm sharing my screen here, Barbara, I'll invite you to get your screen share up and running. Next up, we have Barbara Hurd. She's the Director of Marketing and Business Development with Biomed Diagnostics, located in Southern Oregon. Looks like Barbara's ready to go.
Good morning,
Perfect.
Lisa. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Lisa, for this opportunity to present Biomed. Several of the members have heard me speak before, but I'll just give a quick summary of what Biomed, our history here. Biomed's been in the business of prepared culture media for the better part of 30 years. Moved to Oregon over 20 years ago. We're an ISO 13485 compliant, FDA registered facility. We do all of our manufacturing, production, research. We've got an R&D lab all here in Southern Oregon. All of our products are made and shipped from Southern Oregon. The device that Biomed is known for, and I'll skip this slide, come back to it, it's a novel concept for microbial culture testing in the field. The device was developed to assist in low resource settings, assist scientists and healthcare workers with collection and keeping the integrity and stability of the microbe sample until it can reach a lab or a facility where they can actually do the culture, and the detection. So the first device that was developed for in-field use was the InPouch, and this has been our top selling product for over 25 years. It's still in production and highly used throughout the world. The second evolution was the in-tray, the same concept there, that it enabled the scientist or the healthcare worker to do the culture collection and transport and field detection. All that's needed with this device is a microscope. So it's a collection device, you inoculate it, reseal it, culture it, it's got a long shelf life, and it can be put right on the microscope stage so that detection can occur there. We've got over 64 different media that are selective and specific to different bacteria, fungi, and parasites. So jumping to what happened with COVID, Biomed has not been in the viral detection business. Our core competency was in microbial, as I said, bacteria and fungi. But with the emergence of the pandemic, myself and a colleague saw that at this point, it was a very good time to jumpstart getting into the virology transport. So what came out of that is you're seeing here, and I don't think you can see the right side of the screen there, but that's the device on the right side that our pictures are covering up. But we, back in early March, took the formulation that the CDC had published for the viral transport media and did validation studies, did 24, 48, and 72-hour validation of the media in this transport device. 3 months later, we've got the device. Our constraints right now are on the regulatory side. So the product right now has been approved in Canada by Health Canada, and we are just weeks away from getting our CE mark so we can distribute and sell the product in Europe and other parts of the world. We are in line for FDA approval there. We've got a 510K application in right now. I'm happy to say that the transit tube, the VTM, is on its way to Canada. So Health Canada, we've got a distributor in Canada that has brought it to market there. Another longtime partner and customer of Biomed, Doctors Without Borders, is also in an exploratory with Biomed right now. We've got several of our in-tray devices in Doctors Without Borders mini labs. It's a new concept that was launched late last year by Doctors Without Borders to bring the lab to the field, which is essentially what Biomed was born to do, is bringing devices to the field to enable microbial culture in the field. Phase 2 of our COVID response is we are in an exploratory to produce swabs. We are looking in an exploratory phase with a Southern Oregon laboratory here to look at 3D with a novel 3D printing technology to develop the swabs. Because as we all know, one of the choke points, the bottlenecks to getting widespread testing in the United States especially, has been the availability of these just core basic components. So we're hoping to bring that to our hospitals here in Southern Oregon as well as the rest of the world. I just would like to wrap this up to thank Oregon Bioscience members, all of my peers here on the screen, and everybody in the organization for all of the networking and the help. I mean, like Patti said, it takes a village. And when we went into scramble mode, scrambling the jet, so to speak, to do this, it really helped to have the Oregon Bioscience network behind us. So thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. I would, as we're getting set up here, we've got Sean McClain from AbSci up next, and they are located in Vancouver, breaking some records over there that Sean's going to tell you about. And I encourage everyone, as we're getting towards the second half of our program, or we're well into the second half of our program, if you've got questions, go ahead and start putting them in the Q&A function. If for some reason we don't get to all of them in our 1 hour together this morning, we'll make sure that we get those answered and get that information back out to you after the event today. So Sean, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Great, thank you for the introduction, Lisa. I'm Sean McClain, the CEO and founder of AbSci. AbSci is a synthetic biology company that's focused on making technologies for biomanufacturing, and really what we're focused on for COVID is developing cell lines for antibody therapies as well as diagnostics. And so we basically engineer E. coli to rapidly produce these diagnostic antibodies as well as therapeutic antibodies for the manufacturers of these diagnostic tests. And the big advantage to our platform and what we're doing is the speed. There's really amazing R&D and discovery that's going on for making discovering these new antibodies for COVID. You have AbCellera, you have Regeneron, Vir, developing these very rapidly. But what we're finding out is that there's a huge bottleneck in order to make these antibodies in a very rapid manner, and that's really becoming the bottleneck. And so you discover them, but then it's taking 16 months to manufacture a GMP lot for therapeutic to go into your phase 1 to look at these treatments and vaccines. And what our technology allows is to decrease that 16 to 18 month timeline, and we're able to do it in 6 months. And so helping, we're helping get these COVID therapies to the market 10 to 12 months faster than traditional methods. And then on the diagnostic side, we're working with a lot of the large diagnostic manufacturers for these COVID tests, again, antibody-based. And we just recently completed a sprint here at AbSci where we were able to develop a cell line that produced this diagnostic antibody in as little as 10 days, which normally would take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to develop. And so again, it's all about the speed, and that's kind of where AbSci is focused right now, is on the developing these cell lines to really get these diagnostics to the market faster than any traditional method out there. And so we've been growing very rapidly since COVID has hit. I think we had like 4 job offer letters go out yesterday. I think we're in the next couple of months, we're planning on hiring an additional 10 to 15 people. We're currently right around 55 employees, and it's been really exciting to be a part of being able to just help get these therapies and diagnostics to the market much faster. And so I'll end it there, but thanks, Lisa, for having me join this panel.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. We certainly appreciate having all of you here this morning. Next up, we've got Ken Stedman, Ph.D., co-founder and CSO for StoneStable, and I think it's got a nickname, the Virus Hunter, if I'm not mistaken. So Ken, I'll let you take it away.
No one seems to be able to forget that Virus Hunter thing. So yeah, Ken Stedman, founder and CSO of StoneStable, but the other hat that I wear is as a biology professor at Portland State University. And so we're very different than everyone else I think you're going to hear about this morning. When people say they're small, that's nothing relative to us. We had 1 employee before COVID, and now we have 2. We've doubled our workforce thanks to COVID, which is awesome, but it's still not a huge number. So we are currently completely grant funded and a little bit of friends and family. We founded the company, I founded the company about 5 years ago. And it's really a spin-off of research that's come from my lab at Portland State University. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about how the company came to be, and then a little bit about how we've now pivoted, or in the process of pivoting, to be working directly and also indirectly on COVID. So this research actually came about in a NASA-sponsored project. And so, NASA and biotech, what do those things have to do with each other? We actually got some funding to look at virus fossils, literally how old are viruses, maybe back millions, billions of years old. And so we tried to fossilize viruses, and we did that in our own research lab. And what we found was fossilization of viruses can happen, but it's not something that's ever going to be detectable. So we're not going to be able to put something like this in a spaceship and go to Mars and find virus fossils. But the graduate student who was working on this at the time, fell by the name of Dr. Jim Laidler. He actually had a doctor before he came, as an MD before he came and worked in my lab and got a PhD. What he found is that in this fossilization process, it was actually a reversible fossilization process. So we could take the viruses, we coated them in silica, which is our fundamental technology. And then what we found was that this silica coating could actually dissolve when it went back into a patient. And when the viruses were coated in silica, that actually gave them a huge amount of stability. So we did all of this with viruses that we work with in my lab, which are volcanic hot springs. This is why I'm called the virus hunter, because I go to crazy places and find viruses, not viruses that make people sick, viruses that make microbes sick. Whole nother different story that I'm more than happy to tell you or send you links to. But what we decided was, well, maybe we can use this technology to stabilize vaccines. And as we've actually heard, this is actually really cool, thinking about Oregon, what Patti was talking about, what Barbara was talking about, developing world. One of the big problems in the developing world is lack of a cold chain, which is really important for getting vaccines out to people who really need it. So that was the fundamental start to all of StoneStable and this technology. Stone, silica is a stone, so basically we make little rocks around each of the vaccines, and then those can actually get sent out to the developing world without needing refrigeration. And so that was the founding part of the company. We got some funding from the NIH to look at flu, and our real focus had been influenza. And then, of course, COVID came along. And one of the reasons you may have heard of the virus hunter thing is people found out I knew something about viruses, so I end up on TV all the time. But this process was, okay, we know how to work on flu vaccines. Maybe we can work on some COVID vaccines. Now, you probably all heard that there are multiple COVID vaccines in development. One of the other hats I wear is I'm on our PSU, OHSU COVID Council, which advises the governor on new projects that we should be thinking about. And basically the take-home message there is that everybody else is doing a great job on vaccines, but the next step is going to be something that we're really going to need some help with. And so that's where StoneStable has focused. Again, we doubled our workforce to 2, and are continuing to now look at how we can start to use the same technology now to make not new vaccines, but make current vaccines better. A lot of people have talked about some of the issues that they've had due to COVID. We, like Hemex, we're located in the Otrati Bioscience Incubator, and we've all had to switch into COVID mode. So many fewer people around in the labs, masking up at all the time. And so that's definitely slowed down our productivity. The other issue we've heard from, also from Barbara, is the regulatory aspects. We're undergoing regulatory aspects, figuring out how we can do the work that we need to do in a safe way at OBI. So all of that's taking a considerable amount of time. And then, of course, it's a funding issue. We're a very small company. We're trying to move forward. Actually, we need to thank State of Oregon, which has actually supported quite a lot of our research. We've also had support from, as I mentioned, the NIH, and we just got some support from Portland State. So we're moving in this direction. We're not quite there yet, but hopefully we'll make the vaccines that come along better.
Great, thanks so much, Ken. Next up, we have Dr. Bernie Fox, and he's going to share with us some interesting pivots that he's made recently between cancer and COVID. So Bernie, I don't think you have slides. I'm going to go ahead and Oh, you do. Great. Looks like you're getting set up. I'm going to
Can you see me?
unmute you. Yep, there you go.
And get rid of the share part. Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit. So UbiVac is a clinical stage immuno-oncology company. We have experience in vaccine development. We run phase 1-2 clinical trials and had 2 phase 1b/2 clinical trials that we're about to launch, supposed to launch March 23rd. One was in New York and New Jersey and Portland, and it got held up because of the COVID-19 problem and all the patients that were in those hospitals. So our company shifted because most of my career I've spent working in cancer vaccines. I did spend a period of time working in HIV immunotherapy and was involved in the first gene therapy for HIV and some other strategies to try and induce immunity and protect the immune system from the virus. So we shifted, and I'll just kind of take you through the concept of what we did. There we go. Next slide, please. Come on, So what we did is we developed a vaccine, and these are just kind of the players. We knew that the supply chain was going to become problematic, and the ability to have GMP manufacturing of product was going to be problematic. So we brought everything in-house, either to UbiVac or Providence. We put together a clinical trial, and that was really Dr. Ram Widener led the design of the clinical trial with Dr. Walter Erba. Hongming Hu, my co-founder with UbiVac, and a scientist also at the institute, essentially constructed the vaccine using the NIAID spike, the stabilized spike that was published in Science February 19th in a licensing agreement with the NIAID. Sean Jensen, a scientist in our group at the institute, actually has been done all the preclinical work to get us in place to take that to the FDA, and then UbiVac actually put together the GMP protocols based on all the things that we've been doing for our other vaccine studies and for putting together the COAs we would need to release the product. Other members of UbiVac have been working essentially around the clock for since March 10th to manufacture and go through vaccine, and then to bring all the sequencing in that in-house as well. Our CLIA molecular labs with Dr. Carlo Bifulco and Brian Pining have been taking care of the sequencing, looking for both, I don't know what's going on with my screen here, but they've been doing all that. And then this has been a collaboration with Oncosec. So Chris Twitty, who actually did his PhD in my lab, is the chief scientific officer at Oncosec. They've got electroporation technology. And so it's been a collaboration between these groups. So I'll just take you through the basic concept. So the spike, the stabilized spike, which is the pre-fusion part of that thing you see sticking out on the virus, was stabilized with a couple of prolines so that when we vaccinate with it, it will maintain that pre-fusion structure. And that's what you want the neutralizing antibodies to recognize. So essentially, UbiVac has constructed an expression plasmid using the information from the NIAID, and has actually manufactured that to GMP standards and done the release, the COAs, and continuing to do that, continuing to manufacture plasmid. That will then be injected into volunteers here in Portland. They'll then be electroporated. What that does is it actually puts when you first inject the plasmid, it doesn't all go inside cells, it's in the space between cells. You want to go ahead and have this momentary microsecond break of the membranes so that the plasmid can get inside of the cell and then get into the nucleus, where it can then code for mRNA, make the viral protein, which is then secreted, picked up by your body's immune system, and then that's the whole strategy. So you can see that Providence is actually the sponsor and funder of this clinical trial, and I'm primarily running that with my Providence Early Childhood Research Institute hat on, but we're manufacturing the vaccine to be used with my UbiVac hat on. The experimental monitoring, most of it will be done in my lab at the Institute and other Institute labs. So the concept is you get an immune response, those antigen presenting cells are now presenting little bits, in this case just the spike protein, to the helper cells, the B cells, and the cytolytic T cells. Hopefully this will make anti-coronavirus spike antibody, lead to T cells that will then be able to destroy the virus. So this is the concept of what we've been trying to do. And I'll just say that this has really been, it's moved very, very fast. what's interesting about our clinical trial is too, we hope that the vaccines that are out there are going to work. If they don't work, what are we going to do next? And part of that strategy is, and what are we going to do for the elderly or the older population? And I don't want to call anybody elderly at greater than 50, but the NIAID and the other clinical trials are all looking at people 55 and younger. This will be the only trial that will be able to go into older people, and we'll also compare an adjuvant, IL-12, with the vaccine. So there's actually two arms. They get vaccine, which is spike alone, or spike plus IL-12. That's the younger group. Spike or spike plus IL-12 in the older group. And I'm at 5 minutes, so I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, everyone, to all our panelists today. This has been a great program, and we've gotten some very positive comments in the chat, so thanks for those. We're happy to open this up for Q&A now. And in case you want to direct any of your questions to specific panelists, got all their pictures up on the screen. You should be seeing that right now. I just need to figure out how to get to the Q&A section. Okay, so I don't see anything in there yet. We've got about 5 minutes left. I want to reserve 1 minute for a closeout at the end. I would be curious to any of our panelists to answer, what do you see for your respective company as the biggest opportunity and the biggest challenge over the next 12 to 24 months? Feel free to just jump in there if anyone's got a. All right, actually, I'm gonna have to call on somebody.
I can start with something, Lisa.
Go ahead, Patti.
I mean, I think for us, when COVID-19 is both of those, it's an opportunity and a challenge. I mean, it's obviously an opportunity for us to be able to design a test that could work and, could get out there to a lot of people. But for us, it's also a challenge because, of course, it slowed down. We had 10 to 15 clinical studies out in different parts of the world. And all those got shut down because, the organizations had to really focus on their patients that were coming in. And, it's a challenge because we don't know our timing, exactly when those studies are going to get started again. We also manufacture some of our product in India. India's had a lot of struggle with COVID-19. They're really shut down. They can't even go out on the streets in some of the areas. So, for us, it's one of those things where it's an opportunity and a challenge. And, I think the nice thing about being a startup is you can move quickly, you can make decisions quickly and take advantage of some of the resources that are out there because of the interest in COVID-19. Only we have to manage a little bit. These changes are going to, especially in the low resource settings.
Thanks for sharing that, Patti. Yeah, it's very interesting insight. Appreciate that. Anybody
Lisa,
else?
I can echo what Patti was saying. There's two sides to this. The economic impact to our business. We too became 100% COVID focused due to the fall off in demand from the laboratories. A lot of the standard testing that was done, even in the veterinary and the agriculture side of the world, the state departments of agriculture, who are big customers of Biomed, were shut down. So our core business was kind of coming to a grinding halt. We were down 50% less month than that. That said, with the opportunity to help with the COVID effort and scale up, we were able to add to our staff. However, there was a lot of cost to that. There was a lot of upfront costs, which I'm sure all of my colleagues here on the program have experienced. It's front loaded. All of this research, all of the supplies, all the materials all have to be ordered up while your business is declining. So it's going to be a challenge for all of us. And that's where we're hoping to get, some legislative and government interest in helping companies like ours that did jump into, stepped up and tried to help with this pandemic. And the other side of the equation here is the supply chain, which I think one of my peers brought up here, is there has been a lot of difficulty in getting some of the core componentry for the COVID testing and basic supplies and reagents. So we've got a fantastic team at Biomed that are very nimble, working 24/7, trying to do procurement for us. And our CEO has been very supportive and very nimble at helping us get the supplies. But again, it's been a big challenge that it's not going to stop. I mean, this is going to be a challenge for some months to come.
Thanks, Barbara. That's been a supply chain redundancy has been a topic recently that we've been sort of wrestling with and working on with some other folks in the state. So appreciate you sharing that. We've got one question in the Q&A here that I'll pose to the group, and then I think we're going to have to close it down. So many of you are aware of Portland Community College, and they have a biomed pathway for students. And I know because we work with them pretty directly, they've got partnerships with a number of industry companies. And the question is, are folks on the panel aware of this, and do any of you participate and share any workforce concerns that maybe PCC could be helping you with? Any comments to that, or just happy to make you aware. Those of you that aren't familiar with that program, we can chat about that offline as well.
I'm on the advisory board.
Great, thanks, Ken. Yeah, it's a great program. I know, I don't think we have anyone from Genentech in the registered today, but I know that they work very closely with PCC, and Josh Carey runs that program. He's registered today, and he helped raise that. Someone else raised that question in the chat, but Josh brought it to our attention here in the Q&A. So appreciate that. Well, it's 10 o'clock. I want to thank all of our panelists for participating today. We really appreciate your time. Obviously, you've got very busy schedules, as we've all learned today. And let me move this out of my way here. And as we close this down, I also just want to say thank you to our sponsors one more time. That's Amgen, CAI, Nikon, OBI, and Otrati, Skanska, the Summit Development Group, and VWR, and as well as the Oregon Bio Platinum members, Biotronic MSCI, and Genentech. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a great day. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Check out OregonBio.org, our events page, and our BioPro page for some of the workforce training that we're going to be bringing to you online. And we've got a great Oregon Women Bio event coming up next week as well. So take care, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks very much.